Welcome to Active Rain's RainCamp. My name is Chad Himes with the Internet Marketing Specialist designation, and I get to be your host today. We want to welcome you into RainCamp, and we want to make sure you know how to stay in touch with us during today's event. Our hashtag is simple. It is hashtag RainCamp. And you can always tweet direct to the Active Rain team at Active Rain. So we're going to ask you this. Where are you watching today? Don't type it in to go to webinar for me. Take a picture of yourself and tweet it. Don't forget the hashtag. Let us know where you are watching RainCamp today. And we'll be giving away some prizes to some of the best photos that are found on Twitter watching today. Don't tell me now. Send it out there on Twitter. You know, if you're not with Active Rain, you are missing out on building some relationships with agents all across North America. You're missing out how to learn just about anything in the industry's biggest storehouse of knowledge. That's right. And you are missing out on the opportunity to participate in the training that is offered through Active Rain University. And then probably, in my opinion, and I know opinions of many people that use it, if you're missing out on Active Rain, you're missing out on the opportunity to have blogs that get found on Google. You know, you stay with this call, I'm going to let you know about a trial that we're going to give you later that you're not going to want to miss out on. All that being said and out of the way, I want to get into RainCamp. We have a packed session today of information. And I want to introduce to you our first speaker. He's always our first speaker. He always leads off for RainCamp for us, bringing in the big guns at the beginning. You know, Ben Kinney is not available to join us at a computer today. He's in a hotel room having to call in, and we've gone unplugged on Ben Kinney. So when Ben wasn't available to provide me with a bio, we put the word out to you. We said, folks, we need a bio for Ben Kinney. And ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you the first speaker for RainCamp today, Ben Kinney. A multi-million-dollar producer, master team builder, amazing motivational speaker, a man that is willing to share his wisdom, and he has even saved small, helpless children from burning buildings on 6 separate occasions, armed only with his trademark REI jacket. Okay, that part wasn't true. He is, though, wearing a top hat and a monocle today because his idol is Mr. Monopoly, and his dream is to one day own Boardwalk. He is a big-time fisherman. Just remember, don't hug Ben Kinney. Good morning, Ben Kinney.
You guys kill me every time. You guys are cracking me up.
Ben, that bio was written by multiple fans of yours on Facebook today. They all created that by sending in their words that we could use to describe you. We know that you are in a hotel and that we've gone unplugged today. So, folks, you're going to type it in again and again. Can Ben be louder? Can Ben be louder? Can Ben be louder? He knows he's going to speak as loud as he possibly can into that phone for us to make sure we can hear Ben. And I'll talk a little quieter so that I'm not overpowering him too much. Now, we have gathered, Ben, some amazing questions over all of the past RainCamps you've been on. You've been the cornerstone to RainCamp for us. And there have been some questions that maybe we didn't get answered on time. Or maybe have been hanging out there, or maybe now you really want to talk about. So we've been gathering those, and I'm going to put to the audience now to put you on the spot. If you have a question for Ben about business, type it in right now. Send it to us on the GoToWebinar question panel so that I can see if we have time and we can throw it at Ben. So Ben, before I jump in to the first question already, why don't you just say hello to everyone, let everyone know what's going on and what you've got going on in your mind right now.
Oh, good morning, Chad. Hope you can hear me just great. I am at an airport hotel, you know, one of the nicest places to stay ever. And I'm talking directly into the desk phone here. So I'm excited to be here. And I'm really, really excited about 2013 because of the way the market's changing. And the gift of this changing market is that we get to change our strategies. And what I'm seeing is I'm seeing the number of foreclosures being reduced and the number of short sales being reduced in many markets. The amount of canceled and expireds to call is also being reduced, and we're changing into a market where we're going to have to figure out how do we generate more leads, how do we generate more listings, and how do our strategies change from what we've been using for the last 4 to 5 years. And this is exciting because for the next year on RainCamps and IMSD calls, we're going to be sharing, what's working right now and what's not. And I've got to tell you, Chad, that's what I'm probably the most excited about, is a little change of scenery for us in the lead generation world.
Yeah, it's going to change quite a bit. We understand that, Ben. And one of the things you've always told us again and again on all of the calls we've gone through is that even though around 85% of all the traffic on the internet, where you've grown a lot of your business, are buyers looking for information, that still the backbone of our business, as much as possible, should have a seller focus, because listings really can do so much for us. So, Ben, let's start right there with one of the questions coming in that's saying, how do I get more listings with the change of the market that's happening? Can you help point us in a few directions, give us all a few tips on how we could get some more listings?
Well, Chad, let's start off talking about, the 3 L's of real estate. The 3 L's that you and I are very well aware of are leads, listings, and leverage. And many times agents try to start, in the different areas. They might try to start with leverage too soon. They may say, let's go build a gigantic team, but they don't have enough leads to support them. Or let's go off and just focus on generating leads. And they might do that, the way I did through internet lead generation. But here's what I found. Chad, if I was to go take a brand new listing, would I generate sign calls?
I hope so.
What would you call that?
Well, I'd call that a lead.
Okay. If I was to get a new listing, could I post it on Craigslist and blog about it on Active Rain? And if I did that, what would I generate?
More leads.
Would I increase the size of my database by a new seller?
Absolutely.
Would they have the ability to refer us business to other people?
Of course they would. It's a privilege they would get.
And what would we call that?
More leads and leverage.
Well, here's what happens, Chad, is if you generate enough listings, you're going to generate enough leads. And if you generate enough leads, what's the next thing you're going to need?
Well, then we're going to need staff, which becomes that leverage part of it.
And if we have more leverage, what do we have more time to go generate?
More listings?
Oh, my gosh, this is a vicious cycle. We can't stop this cycle today. See, if you focus on making listings the foundation of your business, your cost per lead, your ability to post your listings on Craigslist and blog about them and do pay-per-click advertising and SEO just becomes easier. Your lead cost becomes so much cheaper. Our foundation really is about getting listings. And in a market right now, when listings are being reduced, the number of available listings are so much smaller, those listings become so much more valuable. But the problem is getting them becomes harder. So when we took a look at how are we going to generate listings for 2013, we started doing some things that you guys would think, Ben would never do that in his business. Well, I'll tell you some of the things we're working on. We're working on going back into mail. And the reason that we're going to go back into mail, Chad, is because when I open up my mailbox, I don't get mail from any other realtors. None. Nobody's doing it. Because a lot of them ran out of money or they've been convinced that it doesn't work. Well, Chad, when do you jump in and start doing something?
When everyone else isn't.
Exactly. Now is the time to get back in to doing postcard marketing, doing letter marketing, sending those letters to maybe notice of defaults, notice of trustee sales, mailing to canceled expires and FSBOs, circle prospecting around a neighborhood. And I'll give you guys kind of a script that you might want to think about using. If you're going to do a mail out to a neighborhood, take a look in your database. If you have a good website system, like one of the ones provided to us by Market Leader, and you're going to generate a lead. When you log into your back-end internet lead system, it's going to tell you where those leads are looking. They might say that this person's looking in this zip code or this city for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home under this price point. Well, you start gathering some of that information, and then that's what you send out. You send out a letter to a neighborhood that says, we have an interesting situation where I have 7 buyers looking for a home in your area. The first one's, his name is Bob, and he's hoping to be here in the next 90 to 120 days, and he wants a home that's 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, and under $350,000. And I have another very motivated buyer. His name is Tom, and Tom's looking in about the same price range, but he was hoping to get 4 bedrooms. Now, we've seen all the available homes that are currently on the market. We're curious if you or anybody you know might be thinking about selling so that we could match them up with one of our clients and save them some of the hassle of being on the market. Those types of mail, postcards, letters, and even the scripts and dialogues that you would say if you're just going to cold call and circle prospect a neighborhood work. They're allowing us to generate a lot of good listing leads today. Now, aside from that, we're doing the traditional call and cancel expireds and FSBOs. Our goal is always to call each one of those once a day for 10 days until they either tell us to take a hike or to list with us. And then after we call them for 10 days straight, we call them once a week until they list or they die. Going through and taking the time to call back our sphere or cancel expireds from the last 4 or 5 or 6 years, our past clients, etc., and just let them know that, hey, inventory is shrinking right now, and we don't know how long this inventory shortage is going to last, but right now it's a good opportunity to get a home on the market and get it sold for a little bit more money than what we've seen in the past. Giving everybody some optimism about what they could do right now, because so many people have decided to maybe not have their home on the market over the last 3, 4, or 5 years. Now is your time to call them back and let them know that this might be a good opportunity. And especially in the holidays. Chad, what's the benefit of listing a home in the holiday season?
Oh, wow. Listing your home in the holiday season, you've got so much less competition right now because so many people think they shouldn't be listing over the holiday season.
Chad, let me ask you a question. If you had more competition on a home, like you had more homes to choose from, do you think that would make prices go up or go down?
Well, more to choose from means prices are going down.
Right. So right now, knowing that we have a shortage of inventory and there's even less homes on the market because it's the holiday season, don't you think that would mean because there's less competition, you might be able to get your home sold for a little bit more money?
Absolutely.
Ted, let me ask you another question. What type of buyers do you think look for homes during the Christmas season?
Serious ones, because they must obviously have to move.
Yeah, serious, motivated people. So you're not going to get as much traffic, but the people that do look at your home are going to be extremely motivated and serious. Now, those are the scripts and dialogues that you need to be using on clients that are sitting back here saying, I'm going to take it off for the holiday season. Well, that's great. You're going to take it off the market now when everybody else is so that you can go back on the market when there's more competition and sell your home for less. Doesn't that seem silly? So, Chad, those are our strategies: calling, emailing, leveraging our internet leads, working our sphere, still taking advantage of REOs and short sales while they're out there, and then trying to think of creative ways that we can get consumers' attention now, having a very, very strong marketing message that compares and contrasts us from the average agent and allows them to make an easier decision when hiring their next listing agent.
One of the things you talk about a lot, Ben, while you're talking about generating these listings, is you speak about how on our websites we should have more than one website because they should be targeted at different people. Now, we don't have a slide for it to show or anything because, as we've said, guys, Ben is at a hotel right now, so he's unable to have a PowerPoint presentation to be showing you some of the things. But Ben, if they wanted to look at your seller website, for example, where you're sending people and you're targeting to get those seller listings, what would be the website that they could go check out to see what you're using?
We noticed one interesting thing, Chad, was the buyers cared about properties, and that's what buyers wanted to see. So we send them directly to the benkinney.net, which shows them a variety of different properties, all the available properties, and you have a hard time finding me there. But when we have sellers that are interested in selling their property, we have them go to sellerschallenge.com. And when you go there, it's all about videos and content and fill out a contact form, and it's all about me, because when you're going to hire somebody to list your home, you care about who you're hiring, whereas when you're going to buy a home, you care about what you're going to buy. Now, if you guys want to see some kind of creative ways that we're driving consumers to our websites, go to my YouTube page, youtube.com/Mr. Ben Kinney, and you can watch some creative 30-second to minute videos that show you how to drive good quality leads to your seller sites.
All right, so they can check out benkinney.net is where you're saying that you send buyers, and sellerschallenge.com is where they can go if they want to see what you're doing for sellers, so that you're keeping them separate because they're looking for different things. So now, Ben, one of those questions that you've gotten on webinars before and you've talked about a little bit before, let's stay on these listings because we want to help everyone generate some more. So Ben, I don't want to spend a lot of money, yet I want to market. You talked about how I can turn that listing into a lead because I can put it on Craigslist. I can blog about it. What other marketing are you doing for your listings that you're keeping costs down for? Because we don't all have a lot of money, especially with the start of 2013. We're keeping our budgets all tight.
Well, it's Christmas time, so we got to save some shekels for the Christmas presents in our stockings, right, Chad?
Yes, I'll be waiting to see what I find in mine.
Coal, if I know need it. Chad, I got to tell you, the National Association of Realtors does a survey every single year that tells us how buyers found the actual home that they purchased. When we looked at that survey, nearly 1/3 of all buyers found the home that they purchased online. That means that the actual home that they bought, they found first on an internet website, and then 86% of them called an agent to go see that property. Well, another third of that database of buyers that actually bought last year found out about a property directly from a real estate agent. So now we're up to about 66-70% of all buyers either found it from the internet or from another agent. If we go through and we start looking at some of the other sources, and somewhere between 10 and 15% came from signs, flyers, and open houses. So we add that to that, we're up to 85-90% of all available transactions. Then 2 to 3% of buyers found the actual home that they purchased through print advertising. A little bit, another 2 or 3% through networking, word of mouth. And then there's a little bit that found it through builders, etc. Now, if we knew that, the interesting thing that I learned from that survey is that if we wanted to be aggressive in getting the property sold, we need to market it online, number one. And the great thing is that most of that online advertising doesn't cost a ton of money. Number two, you got to do a good job of letting other agents know that your property is currently available. So having a marketing plan that allows you to market to agents in your area and outside of your area is very important. Thirdly, make sure that you have a strategy in place to generate calls and leads from your signs and from your flyers. And I'll just give you guys a quick recommendation, is the odds that a consumer is going to buy that actual property that they call on the sign or the flyer is slim to none. But if you can save all the buyers that are calling on all your signs and all your flyers and then sell them a different house in the future, your marketing strategy for getting your listing sold becomes a lot more effective. Because you may take all the people that called on 1234 Main Street, and when you get a new listing in the same area, you might call them up and simply say, at some point in the past, you had called on one of our properties on 1234 Main Street. Apparently, that property wasn't the right property for you because you didn't buy it. I was calling to let you know, strictly as a courtesy, that we just listed a brand new property in the area. It's going to be a little bit cheaper and has a little bit more square footage. And I wanted to give you a first peek opportunity to see that home before all the other buyers rush in to see it. When would be a good time, ... Keeping a database of all leads for all properties and allowing yourself the ability to search and see what type of property did that person call on in the first place will allow you to leverage all your listings to sell most of your listings at a much higher rate for more money. When we start looking about marketing and we started seeing that, the internet is the major place. 93% of buyers and 94% of buyers go online to search for a property, and nearly 37% found the actual home that they purchased online. We had to figure out how do we market properties more effectively through the internet. And if you guys are part of IMSD, you have my actual listing presentation, and it breaks the internet down into 5 buckets. Well, there are 5 specific places where consumers go to search for properties online, where your potential listings could get more exposure. Well, number one is brokerage websites. That's like Remax.com and Century 21 and Keller Williams and Coldwell Banker and JohnLScott.com, etc. Well, just by us putting our properties on the MLS, we show up in a majority of those locations anyway. Then there's portals like realestate.com and Zillow and Trulia, etc. And there's a strategy for getting your listings more exposure on those websites as well. Third place is search engines. When a consumer types in your neighborhood or your property type, is your listing going to show up at the top of the search engines? The fourth place is classified services, and what are you going to do to make sure that your property is showcased on Craigslist, not just once like the average agent, but all the time? If you are marketing in those available places, you're going to get the most amount of exposure. And the cool thing is that doesn't cost you a ton of money. Signs, flyers, removing the price will increase the amount of calls you get by 10 times. Marketing effectively through the internet, coming up with a strategy to market your properties directly to other real estate agents, and, maybe even doing open houses if you have nothing else to do, if you really like cookies. That'll allow you to touch 98% of all available buyers, and you could do it at an affordable price. But the number one strategy, the number one marketing strategy to get properties sold for the most amount of money in the least amount of time, you know what that is, Chad?
What do you got there?
Price it right.
There you go. So, Ben, before we go on to following that up, because I got a question for you about pricing, because a lot of people are asking about that. When you cut out on us, can you quickly, without going into all detail, run those buckets again for everybody? Because some of them missed some of those quick little buckets. You ran through the first one was you were talking real estate portals. Can you give the rest of those buckets for everybody one more time?
So we have brokerage websites, real estate portals like realestate.com, Trulia, Zillow, etc. Search engines like Google, and that's really what Active Rain allows you to do, is to get your listings at the top of the search engines. Craigslist, classified services, Kijiji, etc. And then the last one is social media, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, leveraging the social sites to get the most amount of activity to your listings. If you do all five of those, you will touch the 93% of buyers that are currently searching online.
Perfect. So now that we got those fifth, you were mentioning that pricing it right, because we understand as real estate agents, of course, marketing is marketing, and you share what you even do for your marketing that anybody could really duplicate. Some of the people are like, well, how do I just duplicate Ben's business? Well, start where he started, have the passion, have the desire, wake up a little pissed off every day like Ben did, that someone else was one step ahead of you, and you can grow your business just like Ben, because he so openly shares his models and his systems all the time. Yet, Ben, what about pricing? Because we know that your marketing works and many people are using it and succeeding using it, yet really push comes to shove, it comes down to having the right price. I knew that when I was a listing agent. You've obviously fine-tuned that to the level you've got it. How do you get a home priced? Because there's nothing worse than walking in as a real estate agent and not being able to get a good price on the listing.
We're lucky to have, Greg Harrelson on the call with us today, too, because he is a listing machine as well, and hopefully he'll share some of his strategies. I tell you, Chad, that I know that there's a price that your property will sit on the market for the next year or two, and you and I are going to be arguing about it for 12 to 24 months. And I know that there's a price that you and I would be wrestling in the front of your street to buy your property for today. Now, the correct strategy is picking a reasonable price that will allow us to generate the most amount of activity, that will help your property sell for the most amount of money in the least amount of time. What I do not like to do is I do not like to create a CMA that has a fixed number written on the front page, and you bring in there and you leave it on there, or you hand it to them, because they may use that against you when interviewing other agents, or other agents will use it against you directly. What I like to do is I like the sellers to come to the same exact conclusion that I've came to. What I mean is, when I go into a listing, I have a range that I will take a listing or not take a listing. So I might say that I will take it, my goal is to get it for $350,000, but I won't go over $375,000. That's my happy spot. When I get into the house and I sit down, I talk a little bit about what I'm going to do to market the property, then I ask them the hard question. What is it that they were hoping to get for their home? And they may give me an answer. They may say, well, what do you think? Then I take them through an experience that I call the 5-5-5. What that is I've picked 5 active properties, 5 pending properties, and 5 recently closed properties that are similar in many ways to their home. I print out the full detail page of those listings, and I start off with a conversation like this. I've identified 5 properties that are pending, 5 properties that are active, and 5 properties that have recently sold that I think will give us an effective range on what your property will actually sell for today. Now, first, I'm going to start with the active properties. This property has been on the market for 182 days, and it still has no offers. It is for $352,000. It has about 500 square feet larger than yours, but a little bit smaller lot. It also has kind of a peekaboo view. This next property has been on the market for 92 days, no offers. It has a half-acre larger lot, 500 square feet larger than your home, and a few years newer. It's currently priced at $342,000. And I do the same thing on all the actives, and I do the same thing on all the pendings, and then I do the same thing on all the solds. And then I sit back and I say, I know in my mind what this information just told me, but when you heard me go through these and I handed you all these listings and you looked at the pictures, based on this information, where does your gut tell you that your home's going to actually sell for in this market? And that is a big aha, because they can't go through there and say, well, I want this, because they've just realized that everything else says that it won't sell for that. I did that with a bank the other day, and they said, we want to sell this home for $699,000. Will you go look at it? So I went out and looked at it. It was a local bank, so I got to do a presentation. I went into the local bank. I brought them. I did a 10-10-10 because there was a whole bunch of people there, and I wanted to be thorough. When I got done, I said, well, what's your aha? And their aha says, well, we were way off. And I said, yep. And I said, how much? And they said, well, we think it's probably closer to $499 to $475. And I said, yep, that's what I was thinking. And they came to the conclusion. So it's no longer a battle between you and them. You don't determine the prices. It's not your fault if the price is lower, right? And we can't really affect what they want to get. We just got to show them what's real. And doing the 5-5-5 allows them to take it away from you and not blame you. It just allows them to look at the data and say, okay. And if they do pick a higher price, I just want you to say, no problem. What I want to do is I just want to ask you a question. When other buyers are coming to look at your property, or when a bank's trying to do an appraisal, or other agents are working on a CMA to decide what they offer, how am I going to justify your price when all this other information shows a much lower price? What information am I missing that allow them to justify the $50,000 more that you're asking for today? And let them come up with reasons, and they'll discover that it's either not the right time to sell or they need to become a little bit more aggressive. Hope that kind of helps you on the pricing questions, Chad.
Absolutely it does. So Ben's 5-5-5, that was 5 active, 5 pending, and 5 sold. So for those of you who heard him say 10-10-10, that's just he did more properties because he was going to a bank and he didn't want to give them anything to work around. So 5-5-5 is what he's putting together to get the right price from everybody. You know, Ben, we got a question just came through from Renee I wanted to ask you. So what's your suggestion on REO accounts? I mean, with the way the market is changing, should agents still be looking at getting REO accounts? Do they have to go to those big events down in Texas to make that happen? What about local banks versus the larger chains? What are your thoughts on where the REO market is going and how agents could get into it if they even should still?
Well, we seem to believe that there's at least 7 to 9 million properties that are currently owned by institutions that are not for sale yet. Knowing that information, REO is going to be around for quite a while. I just know that REO has not been consistent, and there are weird kind of seasons of REO where you get a ton and then you don't get any. I don't want you guys to have a rich man, poor man business. First you're rich, then you're poor, then you're rich, then you're poor. If REO is going to be part of your business, make it one leg to your stool, not your only leg to your stool. I think it's a good opportunity. I would keep on, trying to budget to get some of your business from REO. We're kind of budgeting that 20% of my business will come from REO for 2013. So I would take advantage of it, but don't put all your eggs into one basket. That's what happened with all the agents that only worked their sphere in the past, or all the agents that only worked builders. And that's what's going to happen in the future to agents that only do short sales or only do REOs. You need to have a diverse business.
Well, that leads us to another great question coming in right now from John. He's asking, he says, Ben, I've been hearing the term empire building with you from stuff you've been talking about. So it sounds like you're talking about we shouldn't just have one business unless you're that person who was doing foreclosures that I used to work with that had the mindset of, well, when this is done, I'm out, so I don't care if I piss everybody off. You're talking about having different legs to your chair, as you've talked about, different empires that you can grow, that when one part of the market might change, another part can still take over. Can you talk a little bit about that empire concept that you've got going right now?
Well, Chad, we know that if you can create a good business model, and that business model has systems and models and plans and technology behind it, I could take my business and I could plop it anywhere in the United States. Phoenix, Alabama, Tennessee, anywhere. This would allow me to grow my business irregardless. That's not a word, right, Chad? Let's add that to the list of words. Regardless to what's going on in my own market, this will allow us to multiply our production by 10, 20, or 100 times. Here's the warning. What I'm saying is that if you have a good business model and you could put it somewhere else, maybe you should think about growing your team or expanding your size of your market. I wouldn't go to Phoenix before I've mastered the next city south of me. I want to encourage you guys to start thinking, if the city that you're in right now is too hard to get market share, or you've gotten the most amount possible, maybe start thinking about how can you expand your business and go a little bit farther. Now, what we've been taught by our mentor is if you're going to build an empire, who do you got to hire, Chad?
Well, empire builders.
If you're going to build an empire, you got to hire empire builders. If that's the case, many of you guys, when you get to the level of business that, Greg Harrelson and so many of our icons have, is you got to think about leverage. And you got to think about how do you hire talented people that could grow your business bigger than what you could on your own. And Chad, we could spend, you and I, we did 8 hours last week together on finding talent and hiring them correctly and where do you get these people. That's a whole separate call. When our agents that come to RainCamp start understanding the power of leverage, their worlds are going to expand by 10 or 20 times. And I just want you guys all to decide how big was your empire. In 1957, Walt Disney drew a picture of what his world would look like. And he had Disneyland on there before it was even built. He had 16-millimeter films and merchandising and magazines and television and cartoons, etc. He drew his world. He drew his empire. And funny enough, his empire has grown to much bigger than the initial drawing that he drew in 1957. And I would encourage individuals on the call is to draw your world out. Take the time to sketch what would your empire look like if you had it. And your empire might not be a real estate empire. Your empire might be simply, I'm going to have a good real estate business, and I'm going to have a good charitable business, and I'm going to have a good family life. But start drawing out what that's going to look like. If you draw it out, you write it out, and you share it, you have a much better chance of that empire or that world or that life worth living actually happening to you. To survive this market in 2013, you're going to have to start understanding the 3 L's of leads, listings, and leverage. And I'm just encouraging you guys to focus on listings because the leads will come. And with enough leads, you're going to need leverage. And with enough leverage, you can get your life back. You can take more time with your family and with your friends and do the vacations and the things you dreamed about. Without leverage, you have a job. And the difference between a job and a business is that when you don't show up to work and you own a business, you still get paid. And that's what I want for all of you.
Wow. Ben, one of the things I know about you, and that you actually genuinely meant that you want that for everybody, and you want to help everybody get there, and you want to help anybody who's willing to take the steps that need to happen to take them to the next level. So we really want to thank you for taking the time, sitting in a hotel room, stopping from what you needed to do to be here and share with everybody, because on Active Rain, when we do RainCamp, we like to make sure we bring in the big guns. I mean, that's why we've got Bob Stewart himself here speaking. That's why we've got Greg, who you've mentioned, that's going to be coming up from Century 21. I'll be giving everybody who he is shortly to hear about him. And that's why we bring in you, one of the top agents here in the country, to make sure that we're hearing from the best of the best when we can. So, Ben, you helped us. You put us all again on the hamster wheel one more time. And now it's leads, listings, and leverage is going to grow it all. And if you start with those listings, that wheel will start spinning, as Ben had said. We're in a point here where it's time. The market has shifted, and you've given us some great, great tips to make the most of 2013. So before we let you go, 30 seconds, Ben, what would be your final thought to leave everybody that's here on RainCamp today and took the time to learn? What's your suggestion, your comment, your one piece of advice for them to make 2013 really the best year they've ever had?
Well, let's just summarize what I talked about today, Chad. It's focus on getting listings. Open your mindset to there's other areas to get listings, and those other areas might be things that worked in the past that haven't worked for the last 5 years. The next thing is focus on what matters when marketing a listing, and don't spend money on things that aren't actually going to generate a lead, a click, or a phone call. Then I want you to focus on pricing properties correctly. And if I could give you guys a Christmas gift, is if you have a listing right now, that is a Christmas bonus that you haven't been able to cash. Take the 555, visit every single one of your listings, show them what's going on now by giving them 5 actives, 5 pendings, and 5 solds. Get that property priced correctly, get that property sold, and cash your Christmas bonus check before the end of the year. After that, let's talk about leverage once we have our leads and listings put together. You guys are in for an amazing day with Chad and Bob and Greg. Greg, special shout out to you. You owe me dinner. And I want to see you come out to Seattle and visit me and my team. You're always welcome. I'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you very much, Ben. Have a fantastic day. Thanks for joining us. You know, as Ben's getting out of here, I want to share something that was just shared with one of us, that was just shared with us by one of you on the call right now, who said, Ben Kinney and his Internet Marketing Specialist Designation Program changed my business. Active Rain has opened up a whole new world. I was lost when the market changed, and joining Active Rain brought it all back. So, Leslie, thank you for sharing that, and we hope your business is off and running. You know, I want to make sure you all understand this is being recorded. So we do have all this recording for you. If there was something you missed, if there was something you want to hear Ben talk about again, if there's something you're going to want to hear from Greg again, because he's going to give us some amazing wisdom, or if for some reason you just want to listen to Bob one more time, we're going to have this all recorded for you. You'll be getting a notification of it. You'll be getting the information sent to you. You'll be able to find it on Active Rain. Don't worry about it. We are recording this for you. So we want to make sure you're aware of that. And boy, we've got some exciting stuff still coming.